Mets safeguard against rotation issues with Jason Vargas, Port St. Lucie, Florida. In these early days of February, the Mets are allowed to envision dream outcomes involving their pitchers. Sure, perhaps this will be the year they all stay healthy. Maybe the five aces rotation finally is used for the first time. Until any of those scenarios unfold, those projections will be rooted in hope rather than reality. And that's why it was prudent for the Mets to add another starting pitcher like they did Friday when agreed to terms on the 2-year deal with lefty Jason Vargas. Vargas will earn $16 million, and there is a team option with a buyout for 2020. He can pitch, Mets manager Mickey Callaway said. A guy that goes out there, does his job, tremendous teammate. He gave Cleveland fits when we were facing him. Adding a starting pitcher was never a priority for the Mets this winter, but the 2017 season proved that the Mets needed to give themselves added insurance. Fresh off 2 consecutive playoff appearances, the Mets entered camp in 2017 with a collection of 7 starters that some felt was unparalleled in the sport. By the middle of the season, the Mets' rotation was in shambles, devastated by injuries. Noah Syndergaard made just 7 starts. Matt Harvey, Zach Wheeler and Steven Matz didn't make to the finish line. Robert Gsellman and Seth Lugo missed time and were ineffective. Only Jacob deGrom managed to avoid the fate that befell the others. More, an early projection of NY Mets opening day roster. More, Mets J. Bruce high on Mickey Callaway after brief time together in Cleveland. You just never know. The injuries, you try to prevent them but sometimes you can't help it, so having an extra guy who can fill in depth is what you need, said deGrom, who tossed a career-best 201 1/3 innings. Tease a lot of games. There's going to be a time when guys need a day off or whatever. Somebody can fill in. Any extra arm is a plus. By adding Vargas, the Mets now at least have another reliable source for innings in case any of the other starters have down seasons again. Before Friday, the Mets could truly only count on Syndergaard and deGrom as safe bets for their rotation. The Mets need at least 3 quality pitchers if they plan to contend, and Vargas can be the third steady option provided he produces like he has in the past. Vargas may not be a sexy name, but he has made at least 30 starts in 5 seasons since the start of the 2010 season. The 35-year-old should make at least 20 starts, and that's an upgrade from last year when Chris Flexen and Rafael Montero made 27 starts. Last season, Vargas started strong but really struggled in the second half. The Mets are still high on Harvey, Matz and Wheeler, but they are no longer tying their season to the comeback efforts of that trio. If even one of them can return to form, now the Mets suddenly have 4 legitimate starters they can employ. I don't think you can have too much pitching, Callaway said. In our case, that would be wonderful. It can't ever, not, help to have quality arms. Vargas' addition also could light a fire under some of the other starters that are competing for a job, and that's not a bad thing following such a disappointing season. Matz, Harvey, Wheeler, Gsellman and Lugo all have something to prove after last year, and they now will all be fighting for roster spots. Harvey and Matz should have spots in the rotation provided they are healthy, but they have to prove they're ready. Wheeler is preparing to be a starting pitcher, but he knows that road just became bumpier with Vargas now in the mix. It may not be a move the pitchers love since it threatens their job security, but it's a move the Mets needed to make. I'm just here to be a starting pitcher. That's what I've always been. That's what I'm gonna be, Wheeler said Friday afternoon. When I'm healthy I know I'm just as good as anybody out there. So that's what I'm concentrating on.